In this series of videos, we are looking at taking a worded problem, setting up an equation, and solving that equation. Let's look at this question. The area of a right-angled triangle is 73.5 centimeters squared. The shortest side has a length of x centimeters. The hypotenuse is 7 centimeters longer than the shortest side and 3.5 centimeters longer than the other side. Find the value of x. Now, this all sounds quite tricky, but what we can do to make this easier is to draw a sketch. Now, a sketch doesn't have to be drawn to scale. It's just a triangle with a right angle with some labels. So here's what my sketch looks like. Now, let's label what we can from the question. The area is 73.5 centimeters squared. The shortest side has a length of x centimeters. So let's call this side here x centimeters long. The hypotenuse, that's the longest side, the one that's opposite the right angle, is 7 centimeters longer than the shortest side. So if that's x centimeters and that is 7 centimeters longer, then it must be x plus 7 centimeters. Now, we also know the hypotenuse is 3.5 centimeters longer than the other side. So the hypotenuse is 3.5 centimeters longer than this side. So in other words, this side is 3.5 centimeters shorter than the hypotenuse. So if we subtract 3.5 centimeters off this, we end up with x plus 7 minus 3.5, which just gives us x plus 3.5 centimeters. Now, how does this help us? We're trying to find the value of x. Can we set up an equation that we can solve to find x? Well, we've been given the area, but we also know how to calculate the area of a triangle. It's base times height divided by 2. So let's set up that equation. We've got a base of x. We're going to multiply it by the height, which is x plus 3.5. And then we need to divide this by 2. And that's going to give us our area, which we know is 73.5. Now I'm just going to delete all of the highlighting so the page looks a bit cleaner. What I'm going to do next is multiply both sides of this equation by 2. So if I've got a numerator divided by 2 but then multiply it by 2, I effectively undo the dividing by 2. So I've got x multiplied by x plus 3.5, and that equals 73.5 multiplied by 2. And that gives me 147. Now, what I can do is expand the left-hand side, and that's going to give me x squared plus 3.5x, and that will equal 147. Now, this 3.5 is a little bit annoying, so what I can do is multiply the whole equation through by 2. So multiply the left-hand side by 2 and the right-hand side by 2. That will give me 2x squared plus 7x equals 294. Hopefully you spotted ages ago that we've got a quadratic here that we can solve. If I subtract 294 from the right and the left-hand sides, we get 2x squared plus 7x minus 294, and that equals 0. Now, this does happen to factorize, but it's quite tricky to spot. So you might prefer to use a different technique, like the quadratic formula, or completing the square, or just using your calculator to give you the solutions to this quadratic. But just so you know, this is how it factorizes. We get 2x minus 21 multiplied by x plus 14, and that equals 0. Now, this equation has two solutions. Either 2x minus 21 is 0 or x plus 14 is 0. If this is 0, then x must be 21 over 2 or 10.5. Or this is 0, in which case x is negative 14. However, remember, this is not just an equation solving question. We actually have some context here. And we're told that x is the length of the shortest side of the triangle. So it's a length. The length of a side can't be negative, so we need to discard this solution. And that means the solution that we want is that x is 10.5. So that shortest side of the triangle is 10.5 centimeters. At this point, we can check our solution. If x is 10.5 centimeters, that would make this 10.5, and this would be 10.5 plus 3.5, which is 14 centimeters. If we've got this correct, what we should find is that using this base and this height in our formula, we should find the area of the triangle is 73.5 centimeters squared. And if you check it, you'll find that that's exactly what we get. So we know we've got the right answer for x. Also, we've now done a little bit of the work for part B. In part B, we need to find the perimeter of the triangle. The perimeter is simply the distance all the way around the shape. So we just need to know the lengths of the three sides. We've already written down the lengths of this side and this side. So let's just do the final side. Remember, x we worked out was 10.5. So this here is 10.5 plus 7, which is simply 17.5. That means the perimeter is just going to be 10.5 centimeters plus 14 centimeters plus 17.5 centimeters, and that gives us a total of 42 centimeters.